the commissioners can know who you are. Just your name and affiliation. So I see Kimberly Smith.
Hi, Kim Smith. I'm with the City of Presque Isle Historical Society, and Aroostook County Tourism.
Terrific. Allison Maxwell.
Allison.
Oh, Allison was representing Lori. Sorry. Christina Bear.
Hi, I'm the historian for Parks and Lands, so the Department of Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry.
Wonderful. And then there's a gentleman there, and your name, is it Moto?
It's I'm Frank Rodriguez. If you're looking at me there, but and I'm with the Machias Court Historical Society.
Wonderful. Steve Warren. Oh, Steve might be traveling or something and just listening. Okay, great. All right, well, thanks, everyone. Yep.
All right, Jamie's just signing in.
Oh, good. Good.
My apologies for being late. I was in the archive. It's like Las Vegas in there. You never know what time it is.
Well, welcome, Jamie. We're just saying our name and affiliation for the benefit of members of the public who are with us today. So if you just want to introduce yourself briefly, and then we'll move into reviewing and approving the meeting minutes from October 9th.
Hello, I'm Jamie Rice. I'm from the Maine Historical Society. I'm the deputy director here and the head of collections.
Great. All right, we'll move on to reviewing and approving the meeting minutes from October 9th. Is there a motion? Did folks get a chance to review them? Oh, we have a question in the chat.
Well, it knows from our court.
Oh. Anybody, Bernard, want to take that?
Yeah, I move to accept the minutes.
Okay, great. Is there a second? Looking online to see if there's a second. Okay, Peter seconded it. Great. All those in favor, please raise your hand or say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please raise your hand or say nay. Hearing none. Any abstentions? Hearing none. It's unanimous. Okay. Moving into the biennial supplemental budget request update. So I think we reported in on this on October, and there really is no update since October. The budget office has our request, and they're working on preparing a budget for Governor Mills to present to the legislature in January. And then we will get notified at some point, possibly prior to that presentation, but possibly not, as to whether the full amount of our request has been accepted. Anything anybody wants to add, Sarah or Greg or Kate?
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, Kate, did you want to say anything about your meeting with Commissioner Figueroa, or?
It was really clear. So just so everyone knows, revenues have flattened out for the state. And so one of the really important conversations that we were having, in the budget meeting with Commissioner Figueroa was just a recognition that any requests for funding, they're really trying to be as fiscally responsible as possible, recognizing that revenues are not increasing. So really, just managing expectations about the availability and the scarcity of resources. So we made a case for the importance of this event. There was a question about private fundraising and what amount of work the commission would do. And we talked a little bit about the partnerships that we're hoping to create with private organizations, and the idea that if the state is investing some money, that gives us skin in the game to help facilitate efforts across the state. And anything else you want to add from that meeting?
I think that was it. Just I think every agency, and then certainly us, have heard the very strong message that there is not money available, so don't expect a lot, but we will, we're all encouraged to try our best. So that's what we'll keep doing.
So moving on to the next item, Sarah, do you want to take this away? This is the MOT Maine Travel Atlas Project funding proposal.
Yeah, happily. So I thank, and I just want to shout out to Abby for her help with this too. So we have put together a funding proposal for the Maine Office of Tourism, and we are meeting with Carol Ann Willett next week. And so basically, I just want to give you kind of an overview of what we've come up with and what we're thinking about. So the concept, as Shanna said, is called the Maine Travel Atlas. And what we hope to do is to highlight 250 for America 250 special places. And that would include people, objects, all things that really represent Maine's unique cultural resources, our natural resources and historic assets. So we would be looking at historic sites, parks, agricultural areas, iconic buildings, notable people, makers, and significant cultural centers. So we are consciously trying not to totally invent something new, but really focus on what's already here and existing and pulling that together and really getting people excited about traveling around the state and really celebrating what's so special about this. So what we would do after identifying that with engaging with local communities is we would develop a comprehensive multimedia campaign. That would include developing some storytelling content on video, doing a lot of photography, social media marketing to highlight a lot of these places, if they're places or objects. And we really want to encourage both visitors and residents of the state to come and explore, especially other areas of Maine that they may not have been to, and really focus on enhancing year-round visitation. So that's overall what the concept is. And like I said, Kate and Abby and I will be meeting with Carol Ann next Thursday to pitch it, see what she thinks, and how that collaboration with Maine Office of Tourism would work. So that's the general overall structure, and I'm happy to go into more detail or answer any questions people might have, but we'd love to, of course, get your blessing on moving forward with that. And Kate, or Abby, I know you're not in a place where you can chat, but Kate, is there anything else you wanted to add to that?
No, I think that was it. The
Okay.
description there. You got it.
Sarah?
Mm.
Sarah?
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, just, can you go over the kind of main themes again? I was trying to write them down and I couldn't keep up with what you were saying.
Sorry, yeah. So so it's 250
Right,
special places.
Right.
It's also people, objects.
people, yeah,
Yep. So we'll be looking at cultural, natural, and historic assets.
right,
So
okay,
things like historic sites, scenic landscapes, parks, any agricultural areas, or preserved open space, land trust properties, iconic buildings, notable people, and significant cultural centers across the state. So, and those are just, that's not a full and complete list, but just to give people an idea, that's the type of thing that we'll be looking at.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure.
What I love is the idea that you're going to research 250 places. I think, focusing on Maine, the place, and sites of historical and cultural interest, I think this it feeds into the work that we do to promote Maine as a place to not only live and work, but also play, right? So I can imagine checking out this list and trying to hit as many places as possible and
Yep.
Creating little Maine-based vacations based on the 250. So I just want to extend my appreciation for the proposal that you circulated to the group has a certain amount of detail here in terms of what the objectives are and how you would be developing a multimedia campaign and engaging local communities. So like, we have representatives here from Washington County and Aroostook County today, and I think finding ways to engage local historical societies to give us their insights, because 250 is a lot of places. So I think that gives us an opportunity to find hidden gems and highlight projects, where maybe Presque Isle has something that they want to highlight for people coming to Presque Isle, or in Washington County, there are certain places, either natural heritage or cultural heritage or historical significance that.
So as we develop this proposal and it's approved, will there be a process then where we can input from the local community and regional areas?
So.
On the
From a member of the
two-
public, yeah.
Right, I mean, I'm in the public domain right now, but there's a lot of knowledge just with the folks I work with here in terms of, neat locations to visit. And so the question I had is, will there be a process where we can provide some input for that? Whether it's Washington County or whatever.
Yeah, and Sarah, why don't you speak to that? And also let's have anybody who's not speaking mute themselves, just because I think we've got some background noise. Great, go ahead, Sarah.
Yeah, happily. Thanks for that question, Frank. Yes, again, this is just in a concept phase right now. And so we'll be refining a lot of that as we move forward, hopefully in partnership with MOT. And yes, absolutely, we want to hear from everyone across the state what to them is so special and so defining about Maine. So I don't know what it is yet, but yeah, but the answer to your question is yes.
May I ask a question, which is, I think it's a great project, I'm very supportive. Is this going to be an actual grant proposal to the Office of Tourism, or a cooperative project that doesn't involve that? And if it's a proposal, do you have a sense of how much money you're going to need?
Yeah, that's a great question, Bernard. So it is not a formal grant request. We are not going in with an application. This is out of cycle. And so we're going directly to Carol Ann with this. We're expecting to ask probably for about $250,000, estimating the project would likely cost. And so that's kind of where it is right now. Does that answer your question, Bernard?
I think you said 250,000.
Yes.
Okay. And the only other thing I'd say, not that you asked for advice from me, but you get it anyway. Having done things of this sort, don't underestimate the amount of work that is going to be needed to get current information from hundreds of local organizations and the high level of follow-up that's going to be needed. It's really going to be a big project.
Huge, and thank you very much for that, Bernard. Yes, well, so what we're thinking is that it's not just going to be me doing it. We've built in a budget, a draft that will include working with contractors and things like that, because it is a huge lift, but something I think that can possibly live on long after the commission, which I think is also really exciting. And so, but I appreciate your advice always. Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? And we'll of course come back as soon as we know any more details.
Great.
All right.
Are you looking for a vote of the board to move forward, or do you want to talk to MOT before circling back to the commission?
That's a good question. Kate, do you have thoughts on whether or not we should get a formal vote at this point?
I think right now, my sense is, and please, anyone disagree if you think otherwise, but if we get just sort of the general support of the board right now to engage in that conversation, and then once there's actual more details worked out, that's something concrete that the commission could actually vote on. would make sense. Does that work for everyone?
Great. Is there a motion?
Well, we don't need to vote.
Okay, okay. Is there anyone who disagrees that this is a good idea to move forward with conversations with MOT? And I appreciate the recognition that there would need to be some staffing support, that there would need to be a media consultant who's gonna work on or content curation and pulling together photography and design of a piece like this, so, and then the promotion that would go into it. Yeah, anyone have any concerns about it? When I say anyone, I mean commission members, not members of the public at this juncture. Anybody have any? Yeah, go ahead, Julia.
It's not a concern, but I think you will have no problem getting 250. I think we're probably going to get more than 250 and have to send them down. So that'll be part of the process, is figuring out how we evaluate options, because there's a historical society in every single town in Maine that will feel have compelling arguments for all of their towns, and there's more than 250 towns in Maine. I'm pretty sure. I don't know the actual numbers, but so I think we're going to have an abundance of options to select from.
I'm sure you're right. I was just referring to collecting the information of contact people, telephones, hours of opening, access, especially with smaller organizations not regularly open. That can get become complex. That's all I was referring to. I'm sure you're right. We've got lots of interest.
Earl, were you?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, on the point of, there really are, I don't have the exact number, but there are somewhere between 450 and 500 municipalities in Maine. Of course, not all of them have historical societies, but you're absolutely right. There probably, are somewhere between 200 and 300 historical groups in Maine. So there's a lot to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. And then when you add on top of that, please, people and objects, that, yeah, we have we'll have no shortage of things to share. And I think that'll be pretty awesome to collect all that information. Great.
Well, I think you're hearing some excitement, Sarah, and some recognition that this is a big unifying type of project. And I hope the conversations that you and Abby have with the Office of Tourism go well. And we look forward to hearing more at the next meeting. So moving forward into branding. So Sarah's been working hard on thinking about branding identity for the commission and circulated to the commission a draft brand identity and draft branding use criteria. So Sarah, take it away.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll share my screen super fast, just so everyone has what we're chatting about. Can everybody see that all right?
Yeah.
Yep, perfect. Okay, great. So so this is what we have come up with. So we've been working with a firm named Arnett Muldrow, a gentleman, Ben Muldrow. And we have refined this a couple times. We had started off with something that was a little more similar to the original Maine flag. But after the election, we decided, thanks to Shanna's leadership, that we should probably move a little bit away from that. And so this is where we have landed. So it's pretty simple. It's pretty clean. I think what we really wanted to do was just get something. I think the color is very reflective of the state with the blue and the green. And it's a very clean font so that we can use this in a lot of different ways. And that those partners who we are working with will also be able to use this in a lot of different ways too. So I'm happy to talk more about the process that we went through, but I would love to hear people's feedback. And I do think at this point, it would be great if people are good about it. Once we have the brand identity secured, we'll be able to move forward with the website and development of all of our social media platforms and things like that too. So pretty exciting. And I'm gonna pull this off now because I I can't see everybody with this, but I think everyone should have the document as well. Stop sharing. Okay.
Bernard has his
Yes,
hand
I have
raised.
a
Go for it,
comment.
Bernard.
I'm sorry you have to hear from me again.
Never.
I
Never mind.
think we're aware that relatively few people know what the semi-quincentennial is or means.
Yes.
I do think that this design, a fine design, I happen to like the one on the left because it's a little brighter. But it seems to me that some reference to something like honor America's 250th birthday or something like that could increase understanding of what this is. Because a lot of people aren't going to know what semi-quincentennial means and what the event is that's being recognized. I
Yes.
also have some comments on the criteria, but if we're going to discuss those later, I can wait on that.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, I'd love to do this first and then we can chat about the criteria. Yes, thank you, Bernard, and I appreciate you bringing that up because I had meant to say something about that. And thank you, Jamie, for your share in the comments there too. So I want to get like the general direction, and if people are feeling good about the fonts and the colors, what I would like to do is go back. One of the versions had sort of a little banner at the bottom that said 1776 to 2026. About making sure that we have some reference there, to your point, Bernard, about this being about America 250. We have to be a little bit careful in how we phrase it because the Federal America 250 Commission has put in paperwork to trademark America's 250th. So we're trying to figure out like what is the best way to phrase that on a small logo, but then be able maybe to have some other visual pieces that go along with it that will indicate that this is about America 250. So I think that's a really good point because you're totally right. People do not know what the semi-quincentennial is. And we need to make that as simple to understand as possible.
So for some reason, Sarah, you were a little hard to hear, so I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna just rephrase it. Sarah was saying that she wants input on the colors and the fonts, and she would like to go back to the designers and talk to them about some way to capture exactly what you're saying. She had contemplated a banner that might say 1776 to 2026, you know, but one of the tricky things is the fact that the National America 250 Commission is moving forward with trademarking America 250, and is not allowing people to use it without some adherence to their criteria, and that so far we've been a little cautious about going down that road because of the strings that are attached. So that makes our job a little complicated because
Sure.
I would love to be Maine's America 250 Commission, but that is.
Well, I might put something like help us honor America's 250th birthday or something like that. But besides that, I think at least a third of our whole population understands what 1776 is, by which I mean to say that amazingly enough, a lot of people won't know what you mean if you just have 1776 and 2026. So I urge you to delve a little deeper.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll explore some ideas for maybe taglines and other pieces that we can use to indicate that.
Okay.
I think that all makes sense. I think the easiest thing would be to simply, instead of saying semi-quincentennial, you simply say USA : 1776 to 2026 mission.
I'm sorry, you cut out there a little bit, Peter.
Yeah, everybody's cutting out. Sorry.
That's okay. It's probably the weather.
Probably. I would say USA : 1776, building on Jamie's, to 2026. And then I think I dropped the word commission. I'm not sure that I don't know that adds much, or I'm not sure about that. identifies us, so maybe it's worth keeping. That's
Yeah.
my input.
Thank you, Peter. I appreciate that. Yeah, the reason that the word that's in the legislation, it specifies that that's the name. So that's why we have it in there. But it is a little bulky, but
I think that going back to the design, I like the design. I think it's nice and clean. I think it's easy to kind of plug in as like a logo on a document or on a website or something like that. I prefer personally the two bottom squares where it's color and then it's on that versus the like what I guess you'd call sort of transparent. I'm not really sure, but the bottom versus the top. I think the blue is really nice and kind of speaks to the Americanness, but I prefer the green. I think the green is more Maine and kind of makes it a little bit unique. Although the green sort of requires a little bit more of that 1776-ness so that it doesn't get confused with the Maine bicentennial or a Maine anniversary. The blue a little bit brings a more America in, but I prefer the two lower ones for what it's worth.
and I apologize. I should have stated at the beginning that we can actually use all of these and we don't have to just stick to one. So depending on the usage and what it's on, either a print piece or something on social media, these will be for use for all four of those. So thank you for that.
Can I ask a question? Are folks, do you all like the star above Maine? That was sort of one of the questions we went back and forth. Is it a star? Is it a pine tree? Obviously, we mentioned you start with both. We didn't want to do both, so. Does that work for everyone? Just wanted to make sure. I saw a thumbs up.
I think so, but you could put a pine tree instead of the eye, a
Yeah,
whole pine tree. If
we
it's
almost
thin
did that,
and
but then if you do a star too, it's.
No
very
star,
much- No
just the
star.
pine tree,
Just the pine tree, yeah.
a thin one.
It's where you get the tree and the stars. Everyone starts thinking the flag.
Everybody has
No.
an opinion.
The tree and the star would look like a Christmas tree because you'd have the Christmas tree with the star on top of it.
Oh, that's true.
No star, I don't know.
I really like the star. Jamie, was it Jamie that just put in a comment?
Yeah.
The star brings in the flag, both the Maine flag, the North Star and the US flag, the stars and stripes. So I do really like the star. I think it's nice. I'm comfortable with this brand identity for things that are like brought to you by the Maine Semi-Quincentennial Commission. But I think for like describing, you know, if you're gonna do, which I don't think we have a budget, so I doubt we are gonna be doing swag or anything like that. But if we were to be doing swag, I do think, to Bernard's point, some sort of tagline, and to Jamie's point, some sort of tagline that identifies what this is, because I think 80% of the public is not gonna know what a semi-quincentennial is. In fact, I just mentioned in a big meeting that I was headed to chair the Semi-Quincentennial Commission, and I got a lot of blank looks.
Yeah,
Yes.
for sure. And Abby, I put in the comments about go and let them know that if the commission is comfortable with this direction, that we've got the colors and the fonts and the basic format there for a brand identity and see what other tools can come up with. So it's a full package for us.
I like the fonts. I think it's got some old school, sort of historic, it kind of feels, I don't know, I really like it. I think it's clean and brings a sense of.
Yeah, thank you, Shanna. I forgot, I should have, I can't remember the name of it to look it up again, but one of the fonts that they're using is actually very old. It was one of the first printing press fonts used in Portland.
Oh,
They did a lot of research. It's pretty cool. Won't necessarily know that, but it's fun.
Sarah, do you have enough to bring this back to the designers and just get another version to submit to the commission for approval?
I think so. It's uncomfortable. We I guess don't for our next commission. If people are comfortable with this kind of being the basic, that will enable me to get in touch with our website design and colors and things, and kind of get all of that rolling. And then with more of and a tagline and things like that. Does that?
So sorry, Sarah, you were cutting out a little bit. So I think what you said, you're okay. I know it's the weather. I just got a text from a staff member who's in Cumberland right now who said they've completely lost power. So
Oh,
it's
dear.
just, it is what it is. But I think what you said is with the font and the colors and some basics with the design, you can start working more or get more direction with the website and the social media. And in the meantime, you'll go back to the designer to just tweak it a little bit to get something about 1776 or 250 or something that defines that. And bring that final design back, but in the meantime, we can start working on the website and the social media, right?
Yes, I just got a notice that my internet's unstable, so
Yeah.
yes, that's it.
So I'm gonna move that we direct Sarah to take this direction back to the designer and start moving forward on some products like a website and social media outline. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Great. Any discussion, any dissent in terms of moving forward with this as the baseline? Keeping in mind, I think Sarah's heard loud and clear the feedback that we have about how we describe what we're doing. Peter, I think, you know, you're onto something, so I think thinking that through, for a tagline. Okay, all those in favor, say aye or raise your hand. All right, any opposed on the commission? Say nay or raise your hand. Any abstentions, raise your hand or say abstain. All right, it's unanimous. Sarah, you have your direction if you can, okay, you can hear us, great. So now let's move into the branding use draft criteria, so, Kate, do you want to try to give a summary of, I'm just a little worried about Sarah trying to explain this to the group. Now, we do have this proposed, criteria that, Sarah circulated, and it suggests, you know, we would encourage use of the logo with approval. We want people to be promoting this for events that reflect our 3 pillars of connect, share, and learn. And she's got some criteria like who's allowed, how do I request permission, what information do I include, what are the guidelines, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So Kate, if you want to summarize any of the key points, because I know Sarah brought this to the executive committee. Yeah.
And I'm gonna ask Bernard to jump in on this as well, because
Oh,
he was
you were
part of the group to create it. But it's basically taking it from the perspective of, we're gonna ask groups to request permission to use our logo and any sort of branding, just so that we have the opportunity to ensure that what they're proposing for a program really does meet our pillars and our goals, and we're on board with it. And there is criteria for them to meet and how they do it. They can't change our logo in any way. You know, they need approval and agreement first. But we're not looking for payment. We're not looking for anything super in depth. Just a chance to review it and bless it before it's actually used, I think is the basic of it. Bernard, what do you, because you were part of the group to create it.
Yes, I support that. The questions I had were about other things. Should I bring them up? Okay. Under number 8, which is, are there any restrictions on where I can use the logo? This is a detailed and vocabulary matter for me, not the larger, more important things that Shannon and Kate brought up. But on the bullet point where it says any content that could be deemed offensive, controversial, etc. Of course, there's no agreement among humanity on what is offensive. And if I would use a slightly different wording and say something like commonly offensive or controversial or normally offensive, because there will always be somebody somewhere offended by anything. And then the other point that I'd make, and again, these aren't major issues, but I think they affect, you know, how the document is thought about. In conflict with our values, Well, we've never stated what our values are. Now, we have the 3 pillars, which I think is a very good introduction to that. But if you state in conflict with our values, someone reading this needs to have access to what it is we consider our values. So those are my comments.
So maybe in conflict with the pillars or
Yeah,
goals of the
I think that-
commission, the stated goals of the commission.
Sure, if we
Or the
don't want to
pillars of the
think about
commission.
something, but yeah, just so that's a little more precise, and it's what I call the give me a stone problem. Give me a stone, here's a stone, oh, not that one. You know,
Yeah.
insufficiently detailed and, you know, open to uncertainty. Very minor points, so
No,
forgive
that's
me
okay.
for bringing them up.
That's good. I will add as well, just for everyone's reference, that we did have the Attorney General's office just review this, just to make sure there was nothing that was totally against the law, or we were going too far, and they thought it was great, they thought it, you know, met at least their legal needs, and just asked that if this is approved, and once we come up with an actual agreement that would be signed, giving that permission, that they have the opportunity to review that as well. So just as extra information.
Could I suggest, to Bernard's point, that if you added something like as deemed by the commission, that, it's still really vague, but it's clear about how it's going to be determined.
Good point. Yeah. Any other thoughts or questions? I think those are all really good points.
That's really helpful, Bernard. Thank you.
Awesome. I think this is the kind of thing that'd be good to get a vote and
Okay.
approval on.
Is there a motion? So motion to approve as amended, I think would be the motion.
I move to ask for approval of this document as amended.
Okay, is there a second? Looking online to see if there's a second online. Okay, Peter seconds. All those in favor, say aye or raise your hand. All those opposed, say aye or raise your hand. Or no, nay or raise your hand. All right,
Jamie, your hand is up. Is that opposed? Or is that left over from in favor?
That was an accident. I'm in favor.
No, just making sure. Sometimes the hands stay up longer than we intend, so I just want to make sure.
I don't see any nays, any abstentions, say abstain or raise your hand. All right, the draft branding criteria as amended by Bernard and Peter's suggestions is approved. Great, and Sarah will circulate that back out to us to make sure that we captured the amendments correctly.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. Semi-quincentennial survey. Kate, do you want to be Sarah's voice or do we want to try to kick it to Sarah again? Sarah, do you want to try to go for it and then
Yeah,
if we can't hear you, we'll summarize?
We can
Yeah,
hear you.
if I turn off my video, can you hear me okay now?
Yeah, that's much better actually.
Oh, hooray. Okay. Yeah, yes, thank you. So the survey, this is sort of a heads up. This has been sent out to, oh my gosh, well over 200 people, I think so far. We have a whopping 12 responses, but it's all good. So this is something that we designed just to kind of get a better idea of where people and organizations are in thinking and planning for the semi-quincentennial. So I've sent this out to all of the historical societies in Maine, I think. Although after Earl told me how many there are, we may not have captured all of them. And so hopefully all of you have received this. And I was encouraging people to include it in their newsletters or any communication or social media that they might have, so that we can get as much feedback as possible, just to get kind of a baseline of what people are thinking about and where people are doing this. So that's what it is. Right now we have it open. It's a simple Google form through December 20th. Obviously we can very easily extend that as long as we want. It's not super, super time sensitive. It's just a way for us to both reach out so that people know who we are, and get some feedback about what's happening around the state.
Do you need help distributing this, Sarah? And I see,
Yeah, absolutely. So I can go ahead for the commission and put the database that we've used so far up in our shared Google Drive, so that people can see where it has gone. I did, of course, get a lot of bounce backs, and so there is some out-of-date contact information, which is not surprising. But yeah, if anyone wants to send this out, that would be much appreciated. We did do a social media post as well.
And it went to, for those of you who are involved with historical organizations, it also went to the Maine Cultural Listserv and the Maine Libraries Listserv. It went to both, so just another way to get it out.
Julie is asking, has it gone to MAM and CAM?
I did send it to MAM, and yes, Molly at CAM has it as well, and so we'll be sharing it.
And I think sometimes a little repetition is okay, because sometimes people won't read an email from one person, but they will open it if it's coming from another person, just because of who sends it, so. Yeah, and did you say there's a Google form, Sarah? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe bump the Google form to the committee again after this meeting, so it's at the top of our inboxes and we can forward it out to any of our sort of spheres of influence to try to. How many responses do we have already?
12.
12, okay, so that's not very many yet. So I think encouraging, if every member could circulate it to your own spheres of influence, and state agencies can receive the form. I think, I don't know that we can send it to all of state government, but we could potentially send it to all of the commissioners to share with people in their organizations, so maybe we could, I'm also gonna suggest, maybe we do extend it. I mean, December 20th is nice, because it makes it before the end of the year, but do we wanna push it into like January 15th, just to recognize that this time of year can be a hard time of year for people to pay attention to their inboxes? I don't know.
I think that's a great idea, Shannon, and that's easy to do. And just to comment on the agencies, I did send it to quite a few state agency contacts that we have as well. So Christina, I'm glad to know that I did send it to a number of people in your agency, but I will now send it to you. So you can share it as well. And yeah, if there's nothing we need to do to extend it, I'll just change the wording, and I think January 15th sounds good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I think that will be helpful to the legislature too, if the America 250 appropriation gets placed in the budget. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Maybe that's it. Great. 2025 meeting dates. Sarah, what were you hoping for meeting dates for 2025?
So I would just love to know, I think this time was set when the commission started. And if this is working for everyone, we can keep up this schedule, and I can send out calendar invites. So it's right now it's been every other month. But I wanted to just have that discussion for commission members. If it's working, great. If not, if there's a way we want to find another time or day.
Sarah, is the every other month cadence enough for you, or as we move into 2025, do you have a desire to increase the cadence?
Yeah, thanks, Shanna. I think for now, this is working out really well. We may get to a point if things are starting to get really busy that we'll need the commission to meet more often. But right now, I think if we can use the executive committee, perhaps in the off months, to get work done if we need to, but for right now, I think every other month is working very nicely.
Okay, I know, does anyone have, I mean, we've had really good attendance doing it the second Wednesday of every month or every other month at 3 o'clock, but is this a hardship for anyone in particular? Or are folks comfortable with sticking with this particular time slot?
I'm okay with this time.
Okay. Is there, okay, I'm seeing some thumbs up, so I'm gonna propose that we stick with the every other month, second Wednesday of the month at 3 o'clock, for an hour and a half. Is there a second? Seconded by Jamie. All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. All opposed, raise your hand or say nay. Not seeing any. Any abstentions, raise your hand and say, or say abstain. Abby, is that a yes? It's a smiley face.
I think before that, she had said it's a good time.
Okay,
Yeah, she said it's a good time.
okay, great. Okay, excellent. Terrific. So that's what we'll do. So our next meeting would be, we're looking at, we'd be skipping January because we'd all be working so hard. I'm getting a lot of survey responses from our colleagues and peers. That's what we're gonna use that time to do. So people are getting their surveys in by January 15th. We may be reaching out to you when the budget comes out about, just, letting folks know about that. But we would be looking at that next meeting being Wednesday, February 12th at 3 o'clock. And I think it is important, I mean, we have quorum today, but if for any reason somebody can't attend a meeting, please always let Sarah Hansen know as our project director. Just really helpful to have her keep tabs on that for when there are votes. Great. Well, this is a very efficient meeting, everybody. Any other conversation or business? I'm excited about this survey. I'm gonna try to do my part to circulate it to a few folks. And I think the idea of sending it to some more, to some commissioners, to more state contacts is a good one. And I'm really excited potentially about this Atlas project. It's very ambitious, but I feel like it ties into a lot of our goals as a state in promoting Maine. And the hidden gems of Maine. So, but yeah, anything people wanna bring forward to this august body before we go home and fill jugs of water and get the candles and the flashlights out. Yeah. Having you on board, Sarah, has made a real difference. All right.
That's so kind. I'm delighted to be here.
Great. Well, stay warm and dry tonight, everybody. Drive safely if you're traveling. The roads are getting worse. So, hopefully with this fun time, you can get off, and home earlier. So, all right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Happy
Sure.
holidays, everybody, too.
Yeah,
Yes,
happy holidays.
Bye, everyone. Take care.
Bye.